Okay, we are going to work here on our filigree block, and I have traced the block onto a piece of freezer paper onto the dull side. I have fused my first piece of paper, or my first piece here, on our freezer paper. The pattern says start here, so I put that first piece along here, making sure it's at least a 1/4 of an inch below my fold here. So with this, I'm going to trim our next piece, which this is piece number 2, and I am going to fold along here and trim along this line 1/4 of an inch from it. Now that I've trimmed that 1/4 of an inch away, okay, I am going to put my fabric right along here, and I'm going to try and put this closer to the point. And that way I'm going to make sure that I get the most out of that fabric. So this piece is close to the point, and I'm going to go right along here. Now you may ask, why didn't I trim both sides at once? And the reason I didn't trim both sides at once is if anything slips, you don't want to necessarily have an issue. So this just makes it easy. Now we're going to open this up, okay, and we're going to flip this way. And now we're going to press this again, always pressing on the dull side. Press this on, and now we're going to fold here between what will be B1 and B3, and we're going to trim 1/4 of an inch here. Now, if you like the add 1/4 rulers, those work great. I have no preference for them. I just use a regular ruler. And now I'm going to put this piece right here. Again, kind of lining up with the edge of that fabric right there, and we're going to sew right along this edge. Now, some people, you shouldn't have to pin here, you should just be able to hold it, because pinning it goes through your freezer paper and kind of defeats the purpose. And add this piece here. You can always clip it if you want it to stay, still if you're worried about it. These pieces aren't too large, so I don't tend to worry about it. Now, we're going to open this up, and we always make sure that we cover that piece, so that when we flip it over this way, okay, we can see that our fabric goes all the way through to the other side. Now, this piece here, okay, lines up perfectly, but we don't quite get there. So what that tells us is we need to move this piece down a little. Well, I take that back, ignore that piece there. This does cover that piece because that piece is smaller. I misread my pattern. It covers just this piece here, which is what we need. Okay, so it covers this piece here, which is the important part. Now we're going to trim from this edge here, which is between B3 and B4. All right, we have trimmed here between B3 and B4. And now we're going to put this piece here. And again, come close to the edge here, so when it flips over, it's going to cover this entire piece. So we flip it, and now we're going to stitch right along that edge of that fold line. There we go. Now, we are going to, whoops. Okay, we're going to stitch right along this fold line, making sure that your fabric isn't caught underneath, okay? So we're going to come right here to the edge, okay? And now we're going to flip our fabric over, making sure that it covers, and now we're going to press this down again. Everything is pressed to this. What we're going to do next is square our fabric up, so we're going to get rid of all these extra edges here. Easier to see on this side. So we're going to get rid of all this extra. We're going to fold on this line here. Peel our fabric away. Fold on this line here and trim 1/4 of an inch away. Okay, we've trimmed this up, and now we're going to place this piece over it, like so. All right, making sure that we align everything up. And we want to line these edges, line these cut edges, and you're going to make sure that you're kind of in the middle here. Okay, stitch down this edge. stitch down that edge, we are going to do our last piece here, which is, I'm going to press this down to the freezer paper. And then I like to use the size of the block. This will be a 6.5 inch block, and use a quilter square to trim it up to make sure that we have it exactly the right size. So I've trimmed this with my square, and now I can peel it off and we can use it again. So here's our, this is the filigree block. Now there is a left and a right side of this one, so just make sure you're using the right ones and following the color pattern.